6 for 96 and a touchdown for A.J. Brown, Joe Musso alongside Bryant, McFadden, and Christian Fauria. The run game, the story here, complemented by pass, obviously, in that first half. But I can't take my eyes off of what Saquon Barkley and Jaylen Herz did on the ground in this game, headed to their second Super Bowl in 3 seasons. Hertz, that is. Barkley joining him this time around, and maybe he is the difference. What do you take away from this performance?
Saquon Barkley, he's been one of the best playmakers in the NFL throughout the regular season. But he is definitely the best playmaker we've watched throughout this postseason run. And once again, he lived up to the billing. Every time you think you've seen everything from Saquon, from literally jumping over players backwards and just sidestepping guys, he continues to amaze all of us. And he had a light day today, folks, because you watch the highlight, the 60-yard run, but he only finished with 118 yards because he only had 15 carries. They kind of just took the ball away from Saquon, and they didn't necessarily need him at his best, but he still can give you moments like we've watched today. A light day for Saquon, 118, 3 rushing touchdowns. Think about that, guys.
Yeah.
He's unbelievable, and get this, the thing I love about this scenario with their offense, we all know the offense runs through Saquon Barkley, and Jaylen Herz is okay with that.
Yeah.
He had to really check his ego and say, you know what, this is when we're at our best, when we're running the football with Saquon Barkley, and everything is coming to fruition with how well they've been able to play, and most importantly, stamping their ticket to New Orleans.
It is interesting because even, listening to the telecast, the announcers were sitting there talking about, they're not really even using him. He's kind of like a complimentary piece, and he's not the focal point because I don't think they need to. I mean, Kellen Moore is doing a pretty good job distributing the football to everybody, keeping that Commanders defense on their toes. And then when he needs a big play, when he needs to kind of show his dominance, he hands it to him. He lets Jaylen Herz run. He included A.J. Brown. Goddard got involved. I mean, the offense did an excellent job today, and really in every aspect of the game.
And I want to get into that passing game here in a moment, but it's been a spectacular season in totality for Saquon Barkley, now 30 yards away from breaking the single-season rushing record. That is postseason and regular season. Terrell Davis owns that back in 1998, but we are 30 yards from a new owner of that record. This is also the first time in playoff history that a quarterback and a running back combined for 6 rushing touchdowns, 3 and 3 apiece. Never been done 3 and 3 in a postseason game. Only been done once before in NFL history. But the arm of Jaylen Herz featured in this game and in that first half. Confident play calling from Kellen Moore, even getting away from that run more than you like to see a little bit at times. But this was sort of an answer to a question that we had put out in front of Jaylen Herz prior to this one.
This was the most encouraging sign from Philly's win. Seeing Jaylen Herz throw it around the yard, seeing Jaylen Herz still running the football, because we definitely were concerned with the health of Jaylen Herz and what he can do in terms of being a +1 in the running game. But this was his best performance. 246 yards, one passing touchdown. He only had 8 incompletion, guys. He was at his best, and I love seeing when one is celebrating with his teammates. That means they're liking each other again. Everyone is they're all one big happy family. They are having fun, and this is a deadly team because, we had these discussions, Christian, early in the year about the most talented team, the most balanced team. When Jaylen Herz is playing like he did today, when he can run the football and, of course, taking shots down the football field and targeting A.J. Brown, their offense is very, very difficult to stop.
Well, see, that for me was the play that you're talking about. It was a 4th down and play. And the greatest sign of trust and confidence an offensive coordinator has with his quarterback is identifying man coverage on 4th down and throwing it a deep fade route. A.J. Brown keeps his feet in bounds. It's a 1st down. It's 31 yards, and they go on to score. To me, that was the sign that everything was on the table, especially during the week when you weren't really sure if Jaylen Herz was healthy. And here it is right here. It's press man coverage.
4th and 1.
And it was 4th and 1, right? And that was a beautiful throw. And here's A.J. Brown mixing it up. And if you would watch this, you would think that A.J. Brown would get the unnecessary roughness. That was on Lattimore, they called it. That led to another touchdown. And then here's the touchdown that A.J. Brown had. I think when you start complimenting each other, and this is they always talk about complimentary football. Quarterback does what's necessary. The backs do what's necessary. The offensive line was in shambles to start the game. We weren't sure if half those guys were even going to make it. They finished the game, and of course the defense did its job as well.
It certainly did, and when you look at what he was capable of, Jaylen Herz, that is, he also did it with a taxi squad in front of him at center between Landon Dickerson and Cam Jurgens.
Yeah.
So the calm, the poise of Jaylen Herz with all of that change in front of him, impressive nonetheless. You don't score 55 points in a game, let alone a playoff game, unless you get a couple extra possessions, guys. And that was maybe the undoing of Washington in this moment. 3 fumbles, costly at that, a late interception. What did you make of the lack of execution, Christian?
It is funny. You're going through the playoffs, and the reason why you keep advancing because you're not turning the football over. So you had a turnover on your second series after a long drive that led to 3 points. You had a special teams turnover, and then you had Austin Eckler with another turnover. Here's the special teams. This is after a touchdown, and here come the Commanders trying to deuce answer, and they weren't able to do it. I was keeping track mathematically, and I'm not very good at it, based on the percentage chance of you being able to win in the NFL off 1 turnover in the playoffs, 2 turnovers in the playoffs. Yeah. And after the 3rd one, the chance of winning is like 1%.
It just says good luck.
It just says, yeah, we'll see you and have a good offseason is what it really says. To me, that's been the difference throughout the entire postseason in the NFL.
And that's why they say when you have turnovers in playoff football, it will cost you double. They feel like 2 turnovers because it's hard to get over those said turnovers because you're playing good on good. And outside the sloppiness in terms of what Christian alluded to with the turnovers, what about the penalties, right? You lost the turnover battle, and you lost the penalty battle as well. You had 9 penalties compared to 5 from Philadelphia. That's losing football in a moment like today. You have to go out and you have to be your best, and it hurts when you turn the football over, but the opposing team, they're not turning the football over, and you have more penalties. I mean, that's the best way to get sent home to Cabo, even if you're not ready to go. When you play sloppy football, I've said this time and time again, since the playoffs have started, you have to protect the football like it's a newborn baby. Cradle it and don't let it go. Because if you let it, don't bite it.
Bite it.
Don't bite the football. You want to cradle it and don't let it go, because when you let it go, that's the fastest way for you to get sent home with an L.
It is unbelievable what this offense was capable of in the face of this Washington defense that all season did just enough, but it was not enough in this game. 55 points, the most in a playoff game since 1999. But this is also a moment of hope and a moment of celebration for a team that went farther than anyone thought it would, and was because of the play of that quarterback in Jayden Daniels. When you look at the box score, it doesn't look like the reason they lost this game. He did just about as much as he could given the circumstance, and he took his team to this moment.
No question.
When you look at it, and I know it's hard to do for a guy and for a team in this moment, but when you look at what was accomplished, this is a franchise that has done a complete 180 in a very short amount of time.
No question. We've got to realize the last time they've been a moment like today competing for a conference championship, it was 1991. Like 1991, Jordan was en route to getting his first NBA championship. That's how long it's been since they've had an opportunity to really get to this moment. So for Washington Commanders, their fan base, they should be elated and excited about the future because, number one, you found your quarterback. When you have a quarterback, you have a fighting chance. If you do not have a quarterback, the season is over before it gets started. Just ask some said organizations in the National Football League. Number 2, there's a building block to move on to continue to get better. Dan Quinn, he outkicked his coverage, exceeded the expectation. The same can be said for the entire team based on the foundation they had to create there as soon as he became the head coach. But moving forward, this is a team that's going to be a very, very competitive team, Christian, because they have a quarterback. He's a likable kid in the locker room. The teammates rally around him, and they also have a head coach in which the locker room believes in Dan Quinn.
Yeah, I think Dan Quinn, the first thing he did was go hire Cliff Kingsbury once he realized that they were going to be picking Jayden Daniels, and he's done an excellent job. The reason why Jayden Daniels is so well, first of all, he's obviously gifted athletically, and he's smart when it comes to pre-snap reads. But what Cliff Kingsbury was able to do was put him in situations to make those decisions easier so he could just really react and not think overly. But I think the issue that I would be concerned with, guys, would be, are you going to retain some of your assistants? You start having success. Cliff Kingsbury is a guy that I sit there and go, wow, there's one spot left open in the NFL. That's New Orleans. Are they kind of nervous about losing him? I feel like that's a concern I would have if I'm the Commanders.
Yeah, you've gotten to this moment now. Great, do it again. Will be the refrain from this fan base that's gotten a taste of it here on Championship Sunday as the Commanders fall short to the Philadelphia Eagles. Let's pivot back to Philly here as we project them towards a Super Bowl, their second one in 3 seasons, but armed with a different battery of offense there with Saquon Barkley. When you look at the experience, Jaylen Herz, it usually doesn't go well for quarterbacks that lose their first Super Bowl. They don't get back there. Jim Kelly's the last one to do that. Jaylen Herz gets that opportunity now. Mac, how do you think that past experience, that heartbreak, informs what this team's going to go through over these next 2 weeks heading up to Super Bowl Sunday?
Well, for me, the best explanation I can give in terms of being to the playoffs and getting to the Super Bowl your first time compared to doing it again, it's like getting on a roller coaster and not knowing when to brace yourself for the big falls. Like, when you go to the Super Bowl, Christian, you can contest to this. You know how to handle and navigate the week of. Because sometimes the extra things that come with the Super Bowl can become a distraction in terms of making sure your family, they're accommodated the right way, making sure you have the necessary tickets, making sure you have everyone together and comfortable to come out and root and cheer for you. So for the Eagles, they understand they've been to this moment before. You have some new faces that have never been to this moment, but guess what? The veteran guys can kind of slow down the process for them. This is what you need to do. So by the time we get to New Orleans, you're only focusing on the bigger task at hand, which is playing the game. So that's a huge advantage to have, because going through it the first time, you're still trying to figure things out on the fly. And also, too, make sure you don't allow those things to become a big distraction.
You know what most of these guys for the Eagles are doing right now? And you know this, right? Because you played in a couple of them. They're figuring out the ticket situation right now in the locker room. Right now, can I get some of your tickets? Can I get some of your tickets? I used to dismiss the idea that it mattered if you played in a Super Bowl or not until I played in the second one. And I was like, oh, this is so much easier than last year, because you just automatically understand what it takes. Your family members understand what it takes. And I would say this year, the difference between the last time the Eagles played in the Super Bowl, they have an unbelievable supporting cast. They have a true identity. They have a ball-hawking, physical defense, big physical defense that can easily make plays on their own. And I think that, and then Nick Sirianni gets no love whatsoever. The dude's been to the playoffs every single year in his second Super Bowl. Why don't they like him?
I don't know. They just don't like me.
He's a winner.
Hey, the beauty? We got 2 weeks to explore before Super Bowl Sunday as the Eagles will represent the NFC. This man must have known something. Dressed for the occasion there, Matt. Can I get a fly, Eagles, fly?
Fly, Eagles, fly.
They're flying to Super Bowl City, that being New Orleans, here for Super Bowl 59. Thank you, fellas. All right, a look here at their last 3 appearances in NFC title games. Never lost. The Eagles, however, 1-3 as a franchise on Super Bowl Sundays. We'll see if they can add to that win column. Coming up in February. Coming up here on HQ, we got full highlights from your NFC title game. 8 touchdowns. I'm sure you'll see most of them.